You can move up to sit on the blankets. Put the blankets there for you to sit.
Today, I want to take you on a profound journey I recently embarked on in Portage La Prairie. It wasn't just a trip, it was an emotional journey through history, wisdom, and healing.
This is like incense. Purify the body, the mind, and the spirit. You just cleanse yourself up.
I had the honor of sitting down with an elder who shared his life story, a story filled with pain, resilience,
I'm
and
gonna
deep
I'm gonna
connection
share
with
a
nature.
story with you. I've been having people have been saying you have to talk, you have to talk. They keep telling me to talk, and I uh, had a hard time talking because I had a hard time expressing the things that had happened over the years since I came into this world. My story goes back to about 3 years old. I remember a lot of things. Even before the 3 year, I think I remember something there too. But see, when I was a child, between 3 and 4, I used to go off and wander around, and I would see somebody over by the forest line. We had a little log house that my dad had built, and it had a dirt floor. It was just a dirt floor, and it was small, probably about 12 by 12, if you think about it. But it looked big because I was a little child. It was just one room. So I would take off and I'd go out, and then I would see somebody over by the forest line, and I would go and I'd go off into the forest with this old man. And he'd take me to different places from time to time. I was sitting I didn't know what it was then, but it's a sweat lodge. I sat with them. We're in the sweat lodge when I was a child. They used to share with me stories, talk to me about things. And around the last time that I was visiting them in the forest, I think that was the time that we were at what people call the Sundance. I was there watching, and while I was standing watching the doorway, Grandpa came. He was dressed all in white. He had something white over his head all the way down to his feet and on his hands. And he was coming walking, and he was leading a horse like this. And he came up and he stood right in front of me, and he was looking down, and I was looking up, and all I could see was his eyes through standing there, and it felt good. The feeling that I got from him felt good. And then he turned and he started walking. He walked inside the Sundance Lodge, the two at the door. He walked in with that horse. As soon as he stepped in, his first step was a dance, starting to dance already. He walked in dancing. As he went in, the horse came in, and the horse came in dancing behind him. He went around inside that ceremonial circle dancing, and I was standing there watching. I was just a little child. And the feelings, I remember them now. For a long time I couldn't remember. I didn't realize what was happening during that time. because I was just a child and I was watching. And on the way back out, Grandpa would take me back to the edge of the forest so I could see my house and where I came from. So I'd never get lost in the forest. They would take me back and forth. And when we were leaving the ceremony, Grandpa said that they're going to be back for me again one day. He said, always be kind to everyone that you meet, because you never know who you're talking to. And after the age of 5, when I was put into a thing called day school, I forgot about the kindness that Grandpa had spoke of. I'd remember it off and on. I would remember his words also, to be kind to everybody. I've carried that with me ever since I heard those words, that memory. And the things that took place during my childhood with the ceremonies that I sat in with the spirit, I didn't know they were spirits. There was grandmother and there was 3 grandfathers. And when they came to get me, you see, I was put through something called day school, where we were beaten and abused as children. I saw my sisters get raped. So did I. And those memories don't seem to want to leave. So after the day school came the 60's school. You see, one day the people from the residential school came, a lady and some guy, I don't know who he was. They came to take my sisters, and another vehicle came, and the police showed up. So there was 3 vehicles there, and second one came to take me and my 2 little brothers. That was the 60's school, the children's aid, they called it at that time. And the RCMP, they were there, I guess, to make sure that everything, but my father got into a fight with the RCMP. While they were fighting, and the other people were dragging my sisters into the car. Me and my 2 little brothers ran. We ran into the forest and we hid. They looked for us for quite a while and they couldn't find us, so they left. So we didn't go back into the house because we figured they'd come back, and they did. They came back looking at night to see if we fall asleep in the house. So we started to stay out in the bush most of the time, at night and day, and watch, waiting for our parents. I'm not sure how many weeks passed or how much time passed, but from time to time we'd go home and we'd sleep, and we were lucky we didn't get caught. We didn't have much to eat, and we used to go and steal from our grandpa's garden. And he used to leave a little bag of lunch out there for us, because he knew. But he wasn't doing or saying anything. Kept it quiet because he didn't want anybody to know him. That was his way of protecting us also. He knew we'd be all right. So we lived like that for a while, and then one night, when we went back, we fell asleep. And they caught us. So that was our journey into the 60's scoop next. I was with my 2 little brothers in the 60's scoop until I was 13. When I was 13, I started to run away with my brothers. We started to run every chance we got because of the abuse and the beatings we used to get from the people in the foster homes. We were sexually abused there too. But we couldn't tell anybody. We had to live with it. So, when we ran away too often, throughout 13 and 14, they separated me from my brothers. They sent my brothers west and they sent me east. They put me into reform school, they called it. Knowles School for Boys, they call it in Winnipeg. So I ran away from there too. Every time I ran away, I would go home. I'd go home and I'd get caught at home. And the reason that's all I wanted was to be home, to go home, be left alone and to have a home. So every time I ran away, I would go home, to be home. But they wouldn't let me. They'd come and take me away again. And then they told me that I was getting too old for foster homes, so they started locking me up in a place called Vaughan Street in Winnipeg, a juvenile detention center. I was locked up in there for 11 months one time with no charges. And I was in with a bunch of other kids too that were runaways. And I don't know how many times I was put in there because they would tell me they couldn't find a foster home for me. And then when I turned 16, I ended up getting charged for a murder charge. I didn't know if I did it or not, but I was going to be transferred into what they called adult court at that time. So they were going to send me to adult prison. But then somebody came in, I don't know what happened, but somebody came in and blocked it. And my grandpa and my little sister were there in court. They came to the court. They were the only two in my family that came. And there was a deal made that they're going to lock me up in juvenile prison until I turn 18. If I plead guilty. If I don't plead guilty, I say I'm not guilty and they find me guilty, they're going to send me to a man's prison. So we made the deal. Grandpa was there. And I came to Portage here to that boys' home, they call it. When I turned 18, I got out. Not long after I was in Winnipeg, I was charged again for another, they called it non-capital murder at that time. I didn't even see what had happened. I wasn't in the place. I was outside. But I was the only one convicted. The other two boys got off. So that was my journey into the penitentiary. I spent a total of 30 years or so. Some of it remand time, probably about 4 years remand. I would have spent about 26 years or so in the federal penitentiary. I got convicted again back in 1990 for another murder charge. I served almost my full sentence for it. It was 11 years. I got out in the year 2000. And I've been out since. See, back in 85, 86, I got out of a federal prison called Edmonton Max in Alberta. I was out for a while over there, and what happened over there was some old men took me in to the ceremonies because they saw something was happening with me. Every time I went into the ceremonies, something would happen around me. So they took me into the ceremonies, and there was a group. They're called the Horn Society. They were spread across Alberta. They sent me around to different places, different reserves to meet different elders. I feel like I got passed around to different elders to go to ceremonies because they were all finding something different about me when I went into the ceremonies, because there was always something that would happen around me inside the ceremonies. I got lifted up one time over top of the rocks. I could feel the heat of the rocks underneath me. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, what if the old man puts water on those stones? And I guess he was going to, but he got blocked because he told me about it later. He said I kept trying to put water. He said, and they wouldn't let me put the water on the stones. He said I didn't know why. So they held me up over the stones. And then when the door opened, I was sitting back where I was sitting, and I didn't know what had happened, how it happened. There were so many things like this that had happened with me over the years. I started into the ceremony in 83. In 79, you see, the spirits came to get me from the prison in 79. That was what Grandpa had said a long time ago, we'll come and get you again. But I'd forgot. So when they came to get me from the prison, and when I got to hear them, as they spoke to me, the way that I'm speaking with you, they took me places, they took me out of that prison for me to see things. And I didn't understand why or what it was about. And the feelings that came with what happened, wherever they took me, it created a feeling inside of me. But I didn't recognize why they took me there. But I learned about it later. You see, they took me to a place down in South Dakota. Back in 1800s, there was a battle that went on between what they used to call yellow hair, Custer, and Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. See, this is my ancestry. Those are the only two that never ever made a treaty with this government that calls themselves a government, I guess. They've never signed any documents with those people because they knew that they didn't have that right to make those treaties with those people. It was the women that had that right. We had a council of women. We had a way of life. And people don't remember it anymore because they've been brainwashed into living like the white man. They all live like the white man now. They get up in the morning off the white man's bed and go sit down at the white man's table to eat the white man's breakfast after they finish using the white man's toilet and washing out of his white man's sink. And then they'll go out and they'll work for the white man, make his money, pay for him, so that he'll have a place to stay with the taxes. Because that's all they do is take the taxes and taxes and taxes. They're taxing people to death. This people that call themselves government, they're not giving anybody anything back. Why are we paying these people to live our life here in our own home? You see, when I was born into this world, I didn't come with a price tag on my head. I came in free. I came in free without any memories. I came in free without any rules, regulations. I came in pure and perfect, the way Creator creates everything in life, pure and perfect. So that's the way we all came in. But as that little child, I didn't have anything concrete to watch, to see, to find my way through. All I had were the people that came in before me, my mother, father, grandparents, and so on down the line. When they came in the same way as I did. They didn't come in with a handbook, with rules and telling us how to live our life. But today, I have to work for white people so I can have some money to pay them so I can live in my own home. Every place I go, I have to pay for rent in my own land. How is that right? They made a treaty, so they said. I'm not a part of that treaty. I'm not a treaty Indian. My ancestors didn't sign no treaty. This is still my home. This is called Dakota Territory. It always has been.
I hope this video gives you a glimpse into the powerful stories that are often left untold. If you are ever given the opportunity to sit down with someone and hear their story, I encourage you to take it. Here's so much to learn, and it is through sharing and understanding that we can truly heal and grow as community. Thank you for watching. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that explores the deeper connection in life.